In a city that loves its cars, where car racing is such a core part of its history, where even the milk celebrating victories collected like a precious commodity, is it possible that something like this could even exist? Or this? How is this fantastic path created? What's it like? And is it proof that bike and pedestrian infrastructure can find a home even in places that are incredibly car friendly? Let's explore on this episode of Point to Point. Obviously, the city in question isn't much of a mystery. It's Indianapolis, home for the last 107 years to one of the world's biggest racing spectacles, the Indy 500. People here love their racing, and every Memorial Day weekend, you'll see as many checkered flags lining the streets as you will American flags. Somewhat lesser known outside Indiana is one of the best urban bike paths in the Midwest, the Monon Trail. The story of this trail dates back to the 1800s, and if you guessed that it was originally a rail line, give yourself 5 points. Yep, the Monon Trail is a rail trail, and if you want to get straight into what the trail is like today, skip forward in the video a minute. If you're interested in the history of places like I am, then just sit tight for a quick 60-second history lesson and slideshow. The Monon Railroad, so named because of the intersection of two routes in Monon, Indiana, operated the Hoosier Line passenger service between Chicago and Indianapolis from the 1880s until 1959. After the war, as people started driving more often, cars became the preferred mode of transportation, leading to dwindling rail ridership. After passenger service ceased, the line continued to be used for freight, but eventually that ended on the Monon to Indianapolis segment as well. The rail right-of-way changed hands a couple of times in subsequent decades. Then the tracks around Indianapolis were pulled up in the late 80s. Ideas to create a linear park linking the city's various waterways faced some initial opposition, but construction eventually started in 1995 around the Broad Ripple neighborhood. The trail was extended south to downtown and north to the city's edge. From there, suburbs of Carmel and Westfield created connecting trails, and the entire trail now runs 24 miles north from downtown, all the way to rural Sheridan. So what's it like to ride or run or walk on the Monon? Well, let me show you. I'm starting in the middle of the trail, in the Broad Ripple section, because that's the oldest part of the trail, and also a good place to find refreshments, shopping, and side paths to explore. On most mornings, the trail will be fairly quiet, with a nice mix of runners, walkers, and bikers. If you're going for distance, or speed, you'll want to be out earlier in the day, or at the far ends of the trail. Late morning through afternoon, the middle of the trail gets busier, with more families and low-speed recreation. Whether you're looking for speed or fun, make sure to stop along the way for ice cream, coffee, and other food and snacks. Here's what you'll find near the Central Canal in Broad Ripple. Meander down this path for a block, and you'll reach a Pacer bike share station, one of several along the Monon. This is a great option to take a short ride on the trail even if you don't own a bike or you're visiting from somewhere else. Across the street from the bike share is a connection to one of those waterway trails that was envisioned back in the 80s. The Central Canal towpath continues 5 miles to the southwest, past Butler University, eventually connecting to the White River Trail. This is much quieter than the Monon, and it has more of a nature trail feel, even though it cuts through city neighborhoods. If you're lucky, you might even find some baby geese learning to swim. Whoops, got sidetracked there a bit. Getting back on the Monon, what if you take the trail all the way to downtown? Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The scenery here is generally less impressive, although there is a section where rails still exist, making it easier to imagine a time before the trail. At 10th Street, the trail appears to abruptly end, but in fact it connects here to the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, a great multi-use path that gives bikers an off-street route to the city center, alongside walkers and runners. Going back to the map for a moment, you can see that this eventually runs into the White River Trail, which connects back to the Central Canal Trail and then the Monon. It's an infinite loop, like the Indy 500, except with much less vehicle traffic. Heading north, you'll eventually reach Suburban Indianapolis and some of the later sections of the trail to be built. You'll enjoy some of the more expensive improvements to the trail, with bridges crossing busy roads or tunnels burrowing under them. Also a few trailheads with restrooms and water, which is always a nice feature. Here, alongside the old Carmel rail station that now serves as a museum, you see that the original 1990s trail has been enhanced as the area has developed further. It's hardly recognizable as a rail trail at this point. A few miles further north, you'll have almost the exact opposite experience, with a very recognizable rail trail and not much else. Most of this area is undeveloped farmland, so a great place to just enjoy the peace and quiet, and ride fast if that's your thing. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Feel free to subscribe or leave a comment if you like this sort of video, and check out my other videos on transportation-related topics. Then once you're done with those, get outside to enjoy a new hiking or biking path in your area, or maybe take a different route on an old path, finding a new way from point to point. I'll see you next time.